Right, here we go. And Matthew, if you can help me keep an eye on the waiting room as we go along, that would be great.
And are we going to take a break, isn't it? After about 40 minutes, both the talks, we'll take a bit of a break. Is that right?
Yeah. Right, here we go.
Matthew, you're
on mute.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I am. I put us 5 on spotlight for the introduction, and then I'll put it just to the active speakers.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. We'll give it a few minutes for people to join. It's lovely to see so many of you this evening. And just to let you know, we are recording this session, but it will be recorded on Speaker View, so nobody should show up. But just to let you know that it is being recorded to go onto the website afterwards. If I can ask everybody to remain on mute, that would be great. Okay, so while we're waiting for some others to join us, I wonder if we should start with a few introductions. Most of you know me by now. I'm Louise Trewern, and I'm part of the Footsteps team. And with me is Matthew and Anne, also part of the Footsteps team, and Deepak and Alicia. I'll let you introduce yourselves.
Alicia, do you want to go first?
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alicja Wypasek, and I'm full qualified registered associate nutritionist with a master in nutrition and also full certified lifestyle medicine professional. I'm working as a nutritionist already over 10 years, and I'm helping people to become healthy, fit, pain-free, let's call it this way, adjusting the diet to be as much as possible doable, and taking little steps forward to changing our lifestyle. So my therapeutic food plans I'm prescribing are personal and designed specifically to my patients, which are the guides. My knowledge, which I gain to adjust the therapeutic diet plans, are through the Institute of Functional Medicine. So today I'm going to talk what food is and how actually can help us with our pain. And we will touch a few topics today, which will be why we should eat fiber, a little bit more about liquids and hydration, and also fats. So Deepak, if you can go, a very short introduction about me. You can find more information. I will share a little bit when I start to talk on my slides. So I'm not going to take much time.
Thanks, Alicia. Good evening, everyone, and thank you to Louise and the wonderful team from Footsteps Festival for having us. My name is Consultant. I'm the lead for pain medicine at the Royal Berkshire Hospital in Reading, and I'm also a board-certified lifestyle medicine consultant, and therefore I do have some understanding of the crossover between nutrition and pain and why it is so important. And I'm hoping that over the next 2 parts, this week and next week, I can convince you that you really need to be eating healthy, because there is a very good reason that it can help your pain. And I look forward to talking more and sharing some of that knowledge with you later. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepak and Alicia. That was great. So just a few more little housekeeping things. If you have any questions as we go through, we'd love you to pop them in the chat, and we'll have a question and answer session at the end. You all know where the toilets are. So please feel free to go. We will be having a break after about 40 minutes, just to have a bit of a stretch and a move around. So I think we're ready to go for it. So Deepak, I think it's over to you first.
Fantastic. Matthew, have I got sharing and host responsibilities anyway?
I think we might need to. Yeah, you've got co-host, so you should be good to share.
Fantastic. Let me know when you can see the screen.
Okay, we can see the slide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. And I hope I took the liberty of making sure that this really is something that I wanted to do for the Footsteps Festival. So thank you to Louise and her team again for Live Well with Pain and Footsteps to do this, which I feel is quite important in terms of managing pain. If you want to look at alternatives other than medications and interventions. So I hope that you find this really useful, and I'm really grateful to my colleague Alicia and Ian, who is unwell today, but he would have really wanted to be here this evening. He's written a wonderful book called Cookfulness, which gives some really good, healthy, probably recipes that are going to be helping manage the pain as well. And we're going to see some videos of him later, but over the next hour and a half, me and Alicia are going to come at nutrition from slightly two different angles, but you'll see why there is so much overlap. And so this topic for what I'm going to be doing this evening is really this for our evening. First part, I'm going to be talking about really this concept of microbiome. Now, those of you who have already hear me talk about this may already be aware, and I hope it'll be a refresher to you. And for some of you who are just curious and wanting to understand the link between nutrition and pain, I'm going to explain why this is so important and why actually nutrition is very important when it comes to pain medicine and understanding pain and treating pain. And next week, I hope you can join both of us again and the entire team. We'll be looking a little bit more into what kind of supplements and other additives can help with your pain. And I'm going to be talking a little bit more around the fads and probably what we consider as the best form of the anti-inflammatory diet, okay? So with this evening, without much short there, I'll be talking about really the microbiome and what we understand by the microbiome and why you should really care. And then what its relation to nutrition is, and more importantly, why do we think it's important for pain? Now, all of this information to a certain extent is being captured, and I've written it for the public, and this was the book that I wrote, which got released earlier this year. And I argue for it. A few people suddenly looked at it and said, oh, you're talking about a mindset, you know, it's not in my head. And I happen to think that it's a little bit of the publisher wanted me to focus on the fact that the mindset is also an acronym. And I want to say that you don't need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You don't need to stop your medications or injections if that is something that has been useful for your pain, whatever kind of pain it is, whether it's rheumatoid arthritis pain, whether it's chronic pain from any other condition, whether it's cancer-related pain. It doesn't matter. You may have certain specific medications and interventions that can help, but it is the combination of the other strategies, and you will see how important I put diet there in that. Nutrition and diet becomes a very important aspect of the overall toolkit that you need to have for managing pain. And ultimately, an Irish neuroscientist actually was the first I heard him talk about it, and he makes the statement that whatever happens in the vagus doesn't stay there at all. You know, it doesn't. And there is a lot of truth to that statement. And this is not the Las Vegas, but this is the vagus nerve, which is the largest and the longest nerve in the human body that comes from the brain and takes all the information from your gut, from your immune system, from your heart and other parts of the body. It's a really long nerve. And what I want to talk about will be over this matter here. This basically explains, and this talk will go through some of the aspects of why nutrition makes such an important. Now, firstly, Sarah was a patient who was a fibromyalgia and rheumatoid arthritis patient who was referred to me probably about 3 years ago. And at the time when she got referred by the rheumatologist, it was for managing her pain because she had fatigue, because she had concentration problems, she had the fibro fog, and she was struggling with her rheumatoid arthritis. The flare-up had just settled sort of about 6 months before. So she was on the biologic drug as well. And she was also on a couple of other medications. She was pre-diabetic, and her weight had also increased because of the steroids that she'd been on for the flare-up. So it was in this complex part there that the rheumatologist had said, well, this time around, you don't have a flare-up of your rheumatoid arthritis. It's probably fibromyalgia. So go along to the pain clinic. And she came to me. And this was the combination that she had. She was already on some pain medication. She was already on amitriptyline. She was on gabapentin. She did not want to go on opioids because she was only 36 years of age. She had 2 young children. And so she wasn't keen to go down the route of taking stronger medication. And at that point of time, I actually said, well, you've done the drugs, you're on the maximum biologics that you can have. Do you want to try this? And it was around the time that I was studying and understanding more about nutrition and its role. And I'd made the suggestions to her. I told her some of the options to try. And she was willing to do it because she was 36. She didn't have the drugs to go on. There were no other options there. And so she decided to take this plunge and go deep down and do a 2-3 months of a concerted approach at looking at diet. And I saw her about 3 or 4 months later in my follow-up clinic, and I was completely amazed. There was a big difference between the Sarah who saw me 3 months earlier and someone who'd really taken on a lot of the suggestions, and not just taken on some of the suggestions, she'd gone on to go through it and actually taken more information from other sources available and improved her health so much. She came back with a lot more energy, completely chirpy. She'd been able to reduce her amitriptyline and gabapentin dosage. She was able to reduce her codeine to just the occasional amount, and her sleep was much better. I mean, all of this in 3.5 months' time, and her primary way of managing both the rheumatoid arthritis and the fibromyalgia symptoms had been predominantly around nutrition. Now, that is something is really, really fantastic. And she was just one of the cases that I had, and I remember vividly because of the change that happened in such a short time. But there's so many other patients I've seen, and I've been able to give that advice, and they have been able to go forth and make those changes and make that difference. So this is not something that is woo-woo, or this is not something, a simple lifestyle thing. There is very good solid science behind why nutrition matters when it comes to pain management. Now, it all revolves around this understanding that we have about what's called the microbiome. And this came one step before the microbiome. And for those of you who are around the 2000s and watching the news, you might have heard of this Human Genome Project. Now, this was the time where they thought that if you could figure out the human genes, if you identified all the genes that are there, and those were the days where we thought every disease was coming from one gene. And if you could find the gene that coded for the disease, you knew what you needed to do to make the gene all right, you'd cure the disease. That was the fairy tale world we were in. And so a lot of money was put in by the Americans and Europeans in research to actually sequence the entire human genome. And what they found was that in humans, at the end of the day, there were only 19 to 25,000 genes. That's all. The humans had only about this many genes, but a grape plant had 30,000 genes. A maize plant had 25,000 genes. So actually, how do you explain that a plant has got more genes than us, but we, with only about 19 to 25,000 genes, are so much more of a super organisms. We have so many thoughts, we can do so many things, and we are capable of so much innovation and heartache, both at the same time. And I think that's where they decided, well, actually, the product needs to go beyond the gene. It's not just the genes alone. There must be something that's making a difference or adding to the human genes. And that's when the research started to come out that actually maybe the genes that are coming from the various microorganisms that are living on us and inside of us may be also responsible for it. And that's where they devoted another millions and millions of money from the National Institutes of Health and from the US and European dollars into what went as the Human Microbiome Project, where they wanted to find out everything about the microorganisms that are living in and on us in different parts of the body, different parts of the skin, whether these are viruses or whether these are bacteria, whether these are fungi, and these were all sequenced. And what was surprising to them was that they had a total of 2 to 20 million extra genes that were constantly communicating and talking with our genes. Can you imagine that? So effectively, there were actually studies that were coming out saying that when you counted up all the cells that are right now part of you, only 10% is human. The remaining 80–90% of those cells, the building blocks, are actually belonging to some other organism that's not human. I mean, now we've kind of counted it over the last decade. We think it's more 40 to 50% human, but that's still a fantastic new thing that we are only aware in the last 10 years, that we are a supercomputer, a very complex organism where we just have 25,000 genes to the whole kitty, but another 10 to 20 million genes are coming from some other organisms that are living alongside us. So the question you need to be asking right now is, what the hell are they doing there? And there is a very good reason for that, because what we now understand is when you look at all those cells and you count them up, and most of them are there in and around the intestine, from your digestive tract, from the mouth right to your back passage, together they effectively combine with your intestine and they become your second brain. Your gut is your second brain. More importantly, when you kind of look at the number of immune cells that are surrounding this entire intestine area, effectively, the gut and the surrounding immune cells is your largest immune organ. Not your spleen, but it is the microbiome and everything is your largest immune organ. Not only is it your largest immune organ, it is actually the sensory. When you take out all the cells and you imagine that you lie it outwards, it's going to be the size of a basketball court. I'll give you that as an image there. But not only does it do that, it produces more than 90% of your happy chemicals, your serotonin, and it produces more than 50% of your drive chemical, your dopamine. So everything that your brain actually thinks of as responsible for mood and happiness is coming from the gut and the production factories alongside your microorganisms and your intestine. And as I told you, if you took out all these cells and spread it out, you're talking about a basketball court. That is the size. That is what you are having in your intestines, in your gut right now, right from your mouth to your back passage. That is what's filling up the entire cells there. So this gut is able to do that because you've got almost 100 trillion microorganisms. That's almost 1 followed by 17 zeros, that many microorganisms. And together, they are weighing about 6 pounds. Your brain is only about 3 pounds, but if you weigh the entire set of genes in your gut, it's about 6 pounds. And all these genes, together with the microorganisms, is what's called the microbiome. And when these genes combine with your genes, your 23,000 genes, that's called the hologenome. 2 extra words for you to know there. But these genes are constantly talking. This is the new normal. This is what they always do. They keep talking. They keep sharing information. They're like those 2 chatty, gossipy neighbors on one side of a single picket fence. And they're constantly exchanging information about what's happening on the inside of the body and inside the lumen of the gut. And this kind of crosstalk and this information sets the stage because there's so many species, and together the brain, the gut, and these chemicals that come out, the hormones, they are a separate axis. They form all these chemicals, And this constant to and fro information is all being done by this one big fat nerve that goes between the brain and the gut, the almost 6 to 8 lane superhighway that is the vagus nerve. And that's why I told you what happens in Vegas never stays and never happens in Vegas. So actually, all the information inside of the body, when you talk about gut feelings, when you talk about you having runny nose or irritable bowel or anything like that, when you feel like you need to be very nervous and anxious and the butterflies in the stomach, there's a very good scientific reason, because all of those are chemicals that your microorganisms are producing in response to the stress with your immune system in your gut. And that's traveling to the brain via the vagus nerve. And this is the constant information chatter that's making a difference. And these microorganisms not only produce those chemicals, they actually keep a control on the bad bacteria and the unhealthy microorganisms that are hovering around there. You know, it's not all good stuff there. There's good and bad, but it's the good stuff that keeps a control on the bad stuff. It maintains the balance of all the cells. It ensures that signal is happening between other organs, the stomach, the liver, the spleen, the kidneys, all the signaling and the crosstalk is happening. When you have drugs, if you ever thought about why some antibiotics work differently at some times, some antibiotics cause diarrhea, others are not absorbed, some antibiotics and some drugs work well for you, but not for your family members. It's because these microorganisms are different between you and your family member. And that means how they metabolize or change the drugs when it lands up in your intestine is very different, and it can change. So that means they almost create a language that they are using to speak with each other. And this language is changing because it not only looks after the drugs, it also changes what food you eat, what fiber you have, and it breaks it down. And to the biggest extent, the biggest source of food and nutrient for this particular microorganisms that live in your intestine is fiber. They want fiber because that's what keeps them healthy. So actually, if you think you're looking after your pets, and if you've got pets, you'll understand how preciously you look after them. How are you feeding your pets inside your body? And that's where we know now that these microbiome, this nerve cells, this sort of information, this sort of chemicals that these neurons, these microorganisms are producing in relation with your immune system is making a difference. Because when you have mice that don't have any germs at all, they have less pain sensitivity. They don't respond to pain at all. They also don't remember much. So germ-free mice, which are bred in the laboratory without any microorganisms at all in the intestine, do not have good memory. They don't have that many types of bacteria. And they, in fact, there's suggestion now that actually if you don't have the right kind of microbiome when you're growing up as a young child, there is possibly at risk of some autism, schizophrenia, or even conditions like anxiety or depression. The risk is much higher if you are not going to have the right kind of good bacteria and the ratio and proportion of good to bad bacteria, viruses, fungi, and other organisms in your microbiome. All of this is very important because when it comes to pain, we now realize that if the microbiome is not functioning well, or you've not got the right ratio of it, and I can give you the studies till the cows come home, you have a disturbed signaling within the lining of the intestine. This disturbed signaling will affect how your immune system, remember I told you that this is the largest immune organ, your entire defense forces are mobilized in and around this intestinal wall there is, it changes. It causes what's called dysbiosis, and this kind of change in the wall will cause what's called as the leaky gut. Now, people who are having fibromyalgia, who are listening to this talk will understand and will be saying, yeah, I know what that means. But for those of you who don't have that there, this is something that will cause a inflammation in the lining, causing a leaky gut. And not only that, the little bit of fat cells that you have in and around your intestine there, they will start to release more inflammatory chemicals called adipokines, which will actually worsen the pain that starts off from there. So this leaky gut is not only because of the lining of the intestine becoming inflamed, it just means that the bad bacteria there release more chemicals that cause more leaky gut. And one of the things that we're understanding now is that the more processed food that you have, the ultra processed foods that you have, the carbohydrates that you have in high amount, when you go for a low fat and you end up taking high carbohydrate, that kind of processing actually contributes to the leaky gut. And not only are diets there, we now realize that drugs like opioids or even some kind of statins, some anti-inflammatories are also contributing to that. So this is why we have got this situation of inflammation and an oxidative stress because of this leaky gut, and that makes the immune system constantly sensitive. That immune sensitivity goes via the vagus nerve into the brain and heightens the entire sensitivity of the nervous system. So this is why we now realize that when your nutrition is not great, when your processed foods are high, when you are taking Coke or high sugar foods or sugary drinks, or your diet doesn't have fiber. Remember that I told you fiber is what these microbiome needs as nutrition, or you're taking really high energy dense foods which don't have much fiber, you're going to cause all these changes in the gut and the brain that we talked about. And that will lead to a sensitization of the nervous system, which is called central sensitization. And that is responsible for contributing to the worsening of your pain. Now, it's not that nutrition is going to be the magic pill and the silver bullet to change everything, but you have to realize that this is something that is very much under your control to make a difference. And what I do and I talk about in my book, and I ask the question, is asking you, are you living a pro-inflammatory lifestyle? Are you then taking foods that will constitute a worsening of your inflammation due to any other pain that you may have? What are those foods, and can you find them out? And actually, there's this concept that I go in the book wherein, depending on the amount of pesticides that are there in some of our foods, there's this dirty dozen and clean 15 component, and I can go into it in the second half there. And I leave with a kind of quiz that's there around what should be a healthy diet and whether you're actually reaching there or not. I would have done this all in book there, but I've got Alicia with me today. So I'm going to ask her to kind of focus on the food part there. And I'll go into some of this in the next week in some of there. But Alicia, I want to hand over to you at this point here. And I would just leave you all to think about the fact that when you want to overcome pain, diet forms a very fundamental, very big component of your entire strategy there. Make sure it's part of the strategy and not just an afterthought or think about as, oh yeah, I need to eat healthy. It's something we need to make an effort. We need to make a difference, because if you can double down on it, people like Sarah, who have had that benefit and has shorter time as 2 to 3 months, that can happen. And Alicia will go into it in more detail there. Over to you, Alicia.
Thank you so much, Deepak. It was amazing. I think that you'll repeat about the leaky gut and things in my presentation. I will share the screen right now. Right now, click share. Oops. Okay, so you tell me if you can see me. Did I know that we will introduce ourselves before? So can you share the screen at all? Can you see the screen?
Screen is shared.
Okay, I'm going to hide all of this. Oh. Okay. Okay, don't know why I cannot move. Okay, here we go. Right, so I'm going to share a little bit what I know from the perspective of food today. And there, I would like you to start to think about food and nutrition, maybe in differently than you have maybe thinking before. And for untold centuries, humans have relied on food supply, probably for the source of energy, as well as health and connection. However, in the last 6 or 7 decades, changes in the food supply and how we eat right now have contributed strongly to the growing epidemic of chronic disease, chronic inflammation, and those correlate with pain. Food offers not only the calories that we eat to fuel our body metabolism, but also contains many diverse components that play important roles in all our bodily functions. So poor quality food can actually create disease, but the high quality food in the right proportions and amounts can reverse disease and sustain health. So in a very real sense, food is medicine. And this is a beautiful slide. You can think as a plate. And yeah, you can see that the number one, food is medicine. Food is as well connection, information, and energy. Eating a wide variety of high quality, whole, and mostly plant-based foods is truly powerful medicine that improves health and prevents the development of disease. And yeah, you may think, of course, you know that food is calories. People told you about that. You see the numbers of calories on each single, ready to eat food, labels and stuff. So yes, I agree that they are calories, but it's not only a calorie, and it's a source of information for your body. With every bite, food has the ability to influence genes that control disease risk, lifespan, and metabolism. And certain foods can impact your blood sugar level, of even trigger allergic reactions, your inflammation, or autoimmune response. Food has the potential to provide the body with what it needs to function best. Food is central to our social interactions. We all know about that. So we usually will go, oh, let's go for a coffee, let's go for a cake, or let's go for a dinner, let's have a drink. So we all share meals with our communities, and this has a connection as well with our ethnic backgrounds. Food is used for the celebrations and for ceremonies. So it's for years and years, for ages with us. So it's our tradition and the culture as well. We also, when we share the food, we practice intention and we practice mindfulness as well. Food, okay, it's calorie, I will repeat that again, but supports the cells in our body. And every cell, the tissue and organ needs fuel to function. So what actually our body uses for energy? You know the answer, probably you hear the words like macronutrients, micronutrients, like vitamins, minerals, and the phytonutrients. And the phytonutrients, if it's a new word for you today, the phytonutrients are delivered from food to help your body to perform best. And because food is actually information, not just energy, not just calories, the food tells our bodies how to function by signaling exactly when and how each different type of cells should behave in different situations. So we want very best information, do it. And we want to achieve the optimal function, so we need to eat well. And there is as well the difference now between when we eat well, what we can do, because the difference is big. Some people will say, okay, what can I do? I'll try so many things to deal with my pain. And the difference here is between fixing or healing, where I exactly am. So why we have the pain? With some injuries and diseases, the pain you feel match the amount of damage or sickness in your body with chronic pain. So this is, I imagine, the group today. And it's not always true. And I think that you can agree. The amount of pain you feel or how long it lasts might be greater than the damage actually to your body. In other words, your pain might be more severe or longer lasting than the injury or illness itself. So your doctor might be able to fix the injury or your illness somehow, but maybe not the pain. So what's the purpose, what the treatment might be? And I think the word here works as healing. There is importance to understand the difference between fixing and healing. So the healing can happen even if the doctor can't cure or fix your condition. But you don't need to get depressed to think, oh my God, what can I do now? So healing is the process of becoming as healthy, as well as possible, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. You might think of this as being, a whole person, feeling as well as you can do all in different ways. So some ways to do it is managing your weight, building strength and cardiovascular fitness, staying relaxed and eating well. You can also take care of your emotions and your spiritual needs. You need to become more happy and balanced. You also may think that happiness and the smile is like a good drug. So when you smile, when you are happy, it's a good drug. And also don't forget that the sleep plays here a crucial role as well. What is the solution? As you may think that, okay, drugs, medications maybe don't work anymore. Yes, nutrition is the word here. As I already mentioned, nutrition is a medicine. And a lot of chronic pain is the result of chronic inflammation. And the evidence is quite strong that your diet can contribute to increased systematic inflammation. And your diet is also one of the best ways to reduce it. And it's not my word, they're not my words, but there's also many researchers who already has practiced it. And we all know that the nutrition is the key. So here today, I'm going to introduce you some names if you haven't heard before, because it's going to be easier for us to talk about food. So we know that macronutrients, they are the proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, that they are the big building blocks. So this is what probably you are familiar with if you have been on any diet before. So this is what we count. We can count grams of proteins, grams of fats and carbohydrates in our diet. And micronutrients, the little things like vitamins and minerals, this is what people don't count. And this is a funny thing, is like we will count how many grams of fats has this food or proteins, but actually somebody is gonna ask, oh, this food has vitamin C, or where is the magnesium? So the vitamins and minerals, they are here in these micronutrients. And the phytonutrients, the most important bit here, the active substances, which can actually cure and fight the inflammation in your body. And processed foods involve alternations in this food supply, and they interfere with all these basic elements. So when we eat processed food, which contains hydrogenated oils, added sugar, sweeteners, processed grains, toxins, agricultural chemicals, chemicals which used to extend the shelf life for different products. They may be appealing to us. The food may be, look much better. They are tastier somehow, but this biology, that's what Deepak said.
Alicia, we lost you
Oh.
briefly. I wonder if you could go back a little bit. We couldn't hear you.
Okay,
Sorry.
okay. So where we are, where did you ask me? So all the processed food basically that cause the inflammation and the dysbiosis. And the dysbiosis means that the bacteria are not in balance. The good bacteria and the bad bacteria, they are not in the level. So the bad bacteria are taking over in your gut. And the truth is, there is very simple answer what to eat. And this very simple answer is here, but you can see all these colors. The colors are information. different kind of color of food is giving us different nutrients. And this is the answer, the biggest answer, not to go deeper, very simple. You can think about standard, let's say, breakfast with your bread or pancakes or ready-to-eat cereals or sausage or egg. Is everything in the same color. So there's not much color there. However, if you had a smoothie with blueberries or peach or raspberry, or even like a porridge bowl, when you put some blueberries and some seeds, nuts there, you will see that there's so many different colors there, and colors mean nutrients. So you may think that whatever you want to do and how fast you can improve your diet is to eat the rainbow. And the food which cause the inflammation, they are the food which are processed, ultra processed food. And that means meats, ham, sausages, everything which is fried, everything which is based on hydrogenated fats. So the fats which were, for example, like sunflower or corn oil, were oils, and then they are changed to solid fats. So we add hydrogens there. Foods which is high in sugar, because we feed the wrong bacteria, the bad guys in our gut, and all the drinks which are soda, Coke, fruit juices, which added sugar, and the sweets. We always think, okay, sweets, that's sugar, but how much fat is there? They are all based on fats. So another rule of thumb, don't eat the food you can't make at home. So that's why Ian is going to show you so many delicious food you can eat. And the second rule is read the ingredients and see if you can pronounce it. If you read and everything is clear, good stuff. The stuff you can't pronounce it is what promotes the inflammation. So the sugar is a big name. We are aware, obviously, that we have sugar very often just in a word of sugar when we want to read the ingredients, but unfortunately, the sugar is in most of the processed food, but can be hidden under different names. So we can see the words like sucrose, glucose, fructose, malt extract, syrup, glucose fructose syrup. And what's happened? All the sugar cause addiction. It's not only about that we are feeding the wrong bacteria there, because yes, we do. So we are causing this dysbiosis, which all cause problems with the production, for example, of serotonin in our body, but also we are addicted to all these products. So it's very hard to stop to eat them. And especially when we are in pain, what happened to us? Our mood is not really, great the evening. And then it's like, okay, I don't have energy to cook. I don't have even, chance actually to try something new. I will just grab something what is ready. And then we go again and we go again. So the British Medical Journal has stated that sugar is as dangerous as tobacco, should be classified as a hard drug. So because it's harmful and because it's addictive. So maybe these are very strong words, but from today, I would like that you will read the ingredients. And by doing a little step forward, just this little bit, avoid products which has the name sugars, you will see that you can improve a lot. And all the symptoms which are here stated are basically caused by sugar and very high carbohydrates foods. So the diet, the SAD diet we call, which is standard American diet, which we eat in UK. So all the poor memory and concentration, your mood swings, depression, tiredness in the afternoon, or even the tiredness in the morning when you feel, whoa. Too far. Your headaches or anxiety, and obviously all correlates to losing weight. It's basically from sugar and high carbohydrates. So now I'm going to talk a little bit more about the gut, because we are here together thinking already what Deepak told us. And you have this picture in your head that we have very important workers there. Let's call them the pets. Sorry, not workers. We're going to stay with the word pets. And we want to feed our pets. So we want to be a good host. We are actually a host. This is the word as we call ourselves, that you know that you have more genes from the bacteria than yours ones. And then what happened? What happened in your gut? The problem is that when we eat all this processed food, very high in sugar, yes, we are feeding the wrong bacteria. And because we are in this level, we may have this leaky gut. So this is another, the same similar picture, what you already seen before, but here you see the difference. So on the left side, you see the healthy gut, and we talk about this healthy tight junctions, which are not placed here. And what's really happened? So the leaky gut, and we call another way intestinal permeability, is exactly what you can see. So it's an inflammation, it's a condition when the toxins or bad bacteria are going down to your bloodstream. So they are passing through, I lost the mouse, oh, they are passing through over here, and they are getting down to your bloodstream. And your gut microbiome, you know, this is full of bacteria, so full of bacteria there, and they play this important role. They are not only breaking down the nutrients, but they also correlate and help with the hormone productions and the chemicals. So we are going to talk a little bit more about the gut and about food and mood topic in the next part. I just wanted here to mention that the gut plays this very, very important role, because the substances which are causing the inflammations, they are the word LPS, what you saw, what Deepak told us, the name is lipopolysaccharide. So when they are passing down to this bloodstream, they cause the inflammation. Okay, so that's the main thing. That's the main goal I wanted you to know today from what's happening when we have the leaky gut, and all these toxins are passing down here to our bloodstream, which can cause also not only the inflammation in your body, but also inflammation in the brain, and that correlates to the pain. It's more about that in part 2 when we will want to talk about the brain. So what happened now? What we can eat and how we can feed these pets? Yes, fiber. So we know already fiber is the food for us, food for the bacteria. And the recommendation is between 25 to 35 grams. So we don't need to count how much fiber we eat. Generally, if you eat healthy, mostly plant-based diet, you will reach very easily 35 grams a day. But what I wanted to mention here, that we have insoluble fiber and soluble fiber. And insoluble fiber are bran, like an oat bran, like everything what you see that is like brown rice or all these outliers of the grains and vegetables. What they do? They basically help to move the waste along. So that's the fiber which helps us to be more regular. And the soluble fiber is this one, like flax seeds or chia seeds. They create a gel. So the psyllium husk, they absorb the water, they absorb the cholesterol as well, they trap toxins, and then they flash down through the digestive tracts to excrete the bad things which are actually sitting there. So now imagine you have dysbiosis and you have bad bacteria in your gut, and they are creating toxins. They are all the time creating toxins. So the same things what happen if you, for example, can't digest some foods, or you just eat very processed food and you get bloated. So bad bacteria produce toxins, the food start to fermentate. So how to excrete? You need fiber. You need to move everything what is in your gut to excrete. And that's the food which is brown, nuts, seeds. So basically plants. You won't find the fiber in the meat. As you know already, you can place in front of you like porridge and chicken breast. What is in the chicken breast? It's meat. When you have the fish or a piece of steak, it's only meat there. So there is not fiber. It's a muscle. It's a muscle. So there is not fiber there. So that's why we say that if you eat mostly plants, increase more plants, then you can feed your pets, your good guys. And this is an example of foods what we can eat. So if you will focus on your fruits and vegetables, so we call it minimum 5 a day, Actually, the recommendation by functional medicine is to eat between 9 to 13 servings of plants. So we call them generally plants a day. And they will all prevent us from the chronic diseases. That includes also our roots vegetables, eating them as well with skin, and legumes, so colorful beans. They all very rich in protein, plant protein and fiber, same as whole grains, nuts and seeds. And on the right side, you have a beautiful picture of energy balls, which are lovely treats, which Ian prepared for us as well. Well, we can't eat it. They were not post today, so nobody's gonna knock the door, free delivery, but you will see a little video at the end of my talk, how to make the delicious, some people call them truffles, some people call them energy balls. But when we increase the fiber, what happens is that if we are not used to drink a lot of water, this fiber can actually flush a lot. We can still feel that we get constipated or even be much more regular with the toilet. So we recommend to make sure that you drink between 6 to 8 glasses of water a day. And that includes your herbal teas as well, or like water infusions. If you don't like plain water, it's really good to maybe put some ginger or cucumber overnight there, that the water will get a flavor, and reduce the alcohol. So alcohol has really negative impact on our microbiome because can kill some beneficial bacteria, and we don't want that. And alcohol increase the inflammation in our gut, and also can cause the gut permeability, what we call it leaky gut. So if you like the kind of flavor, little bit, like let's say food which is sprinkle, and some foods which we call it like kombucha or water kefir, they will have less than 1% of alcohol. Is still okay to drink, and it's a good way to try those drinks if you haven't tried, especially in the festive season. So if you think that you would like to increase a little bit more fiber in your diet, just by, for example, changing one meal, let's say for my lunch, I would like to add more beans, then think that you would like to increase the fluid as well. And the last thing, what I would like to share today, it's about healthy fats. So as I already mentioned before, the fats, maybe I didn't use the proper word. I said that we would like to reduce fats, but using the word like with our good fats and bad fats. And actually the healthy fats, they have high level of anti-inflammatory roles in our body. So the fats which we need to eliminate are all the trans fats, the fats particularly coming from processed food and animal sources. And if we will focus on omega-3 fatty acids, we will like to include more plant sources like seeds and nuts in our diet, and fish, not necessarily having processed food, which is like fried, or food when we use a lot of butter with it, but actually changing to plant oils, like using olive oils and using fats which is unsaturated. So that means that it's more liquid, and it's not fat which is stable, let's say like a margarine. So we have two names here, and then the monounsaturated fats are found in nuts, olives, and avocado. And why we call them that they are good is because they lower the bad cholesterol, LDL, and they rise the good cholesterol, HDL. So they also lower the blood pressure. And these monounsaturated fats are linked to reduce cancer and diabetes as well. And there are other fats like polyunsaturated fats, and that's omega-6 and omega-3. Probably you hear about them. And we very often call omega-6 linolenic acids and omega-3 ALA, alpha-linolenic acids. And in our Western diets, the problem is that we have too much of omega-6 and not enough omega-3. So we have the bad ratio. And this is when the problem is coming from, is because we use all these processed foods which is high in sunflower and corn oil. So that's basically what is in the foods which are ready to eat. And also the grain-fed meat, with they eat a lot of corn, and that's increase this omega-6 fatty acids. So the important omega-3 fatty acids like DHA or EPA, the body can make it from alpha-linolenic acid, but if you have a chronic disease or you have diabetes, let's say, then some people actually can't make these short-chain fatty acids. So the pathways doesn't work. And for that reason, we need to obtain them from or supplements or from foods like fish, like white salmon or sardines. And if you are vegan or vegetarian, then you can basically supplement from the algal based of DHL and EPA supplements. So the fats, as well as providing us energy, they have so many different roles in our body. Fats are used for structural complements in cells membranes. Every cell has protective membrane, and we call it phospholipids, so that fats, cholesterol, and proteins. And omega-6 and omega-3 fats are also used to synthesize hormones like substances called prostaglandins. And maybe you have heard this word because it's very popular with chronic pain. And the different prostaglandins can act to increase or decrease the inflammation in the body. In general, omega-6 fatty acids results in more inflammatory prostaglandins, and omega-3 are more anti-inflammatory. So what we are looking for is to balance this level between omega-6 and omega-3. So you would like to eat more omega-3 fatty acids. You would like to have flax seeds in your porridge, let's say, or you would like to have chia seeds. You would like to eat more walnuts, and you would like to add seeds to different meals. And this is something what you can take as a challenge, because if you will do a little tiny steps to change your meal, not focus on totally different diet, but actually just doing a little steps and asking yourself, do I have different colors in my foods? Do I have colorful, let's say, salad today? How many colors I can eat? How many colors I can see on my plate? So it's a kind of mindfulness eating. You look at your plate and you see how many different colors I have. Do they look like a rainbow? Do I have something red? Do I have something yellow? And this is the first step, to actually look at the colors of your plate. And the second, you already know, if you are buying something, read your labels. Check if there is sugar there, check how many fats is there, because all is associated with the inflammation. When you're going to improve your meals by adding more fiber, you would like to add more fluid as well. And I think that from now, I hope that from now you'll be more focused about what is on your plate, because all you know that the food is the medicine which can help you and also provides a lot of information into your body. So Ian has recorded a video for you, which I think we are going to play now. Well, I will give you a little bit short what's happened next week if you are coming. So we are going to cover more about food and mood and healthy snacks, and as Deepak said, supplements. So when I will pause now, because we will play this amazing energy balls recipe. Let me see when I stop to share. Okay, when I stop to share screen.
Thanks, Alicia.
Here I am.
It was great. And we have such a lot of questions coming in. So I'll share Ian's video, and I'm so sorry I forgot to give Ian's apologies, as he's not very well, so he was unable to join tonight. Right, let's see if this works. Just bear with.
Hi, it's Ian here, Mr. Cookfulness. I am today going to be making some of Alicia's amazing recipes, nutrition food. She sent me these recipes. I have purposely not tried to make them before. This is going to be you watching me do them for the first time, so I can show you hopefully how easy it is. Now behind the camera I have little Miss Cookfulness. Say hello.
Hi.
Who's going to be reading out the recipes for me. So this is how it's going to work. We're going to start making some lemon energy balls. Is that right? Good. Right, come on then, little miss. What goes in?
1 cup of dates pitted and chopped.
1 cup of dates. Okie dokie. One cup of dates. There we go. Okay. And what does the recipe say I need to do?
1 cup of almond.
What does the recipe say I need to do underneath?
Have I shared the wrong one, Alicia?
This is the lemon energy balls. I think it looks like the right one.
Yeah, okay.
Put the dates, nuts and seeds in a food processor and pulse several times to chop.
How many almonds did you say?
1 cup.
1 cup of almonds. One cup of almonds. And then what was the nuts?
Half nuts.
Half a cup of nuts.
Yep.
Half a cup of nuts. Oh, they're all coming out everywhere. So I've got pumpkin and sunflower and some others as well, just for good fun. Okay, so in that goes. And what do I do? Whiz that up?
And pulse several times.
Okay, ready? Okay, I've pulsed. What's next?
Okay. Add the lemon juice.
So lemon, juice of half a lemon.
Mm-hmm.
Or a whole lemon.
A medium lemon, it
Yeah.
says.
I'll do it all then. So I'm just going to zest it using my active hand zester, which is brilliant. So the zest goes in as well. Take that off, and in she pops. Such a clever little thing, this. And then on my little chopping board, chop that down. So the zest and the juice. If you struggle with your hands on juicing, just get someone to help you or just stick a spoon in. Okay, what's after the lemon juice, little miss?
Vanilla.
Ooh, how much of that?
Half a teaspoon.
Half a teaspoon of vanilla. There we go. 1/2 teaspoon. Okay. And then do we whiz it again?
Yeah.
Yeah, give it a whiz. Yeah, that's gone nice and doopy doopy. And then what do we do? Shape them into balls?
Yep.
Take the blade out, otherwise it's going to hurt.
Just
Ooh, these are nice. Lovely and sticky. Shape them into balls and put them on a little tray. I'm going for the irregular look, because I'm an irregular type of guy. Oh, they smell amazing. And I'll put them all on. And then, what do we do? Put them in the fridge?
Yep.
And that is it. That's how you make these lovely little lemon energy balls. And I know from just the smell, these are going to be brilliant. So, leave them in the fridge for how long? An hour? 2 hours?
Doesn't say.
Okay. We shall leave them in the fridge and then we'll try them later. But these are so easy to make and I know they're going to taste great. So, lemon energy balls, done. Hi, it's Ian here.
I think we're experiencing some more connection issues with, oh, you're back. All
Okay. I already feel hungry.
Mouth watering. Okay, we're going to have just a 5-minute break if that's okay. I realise we're already at 8:10, but if everybody just has a quick stretch, and then we'll come back for some questions and answers afterwards. Is that all right?
We'll go for the Q&A once we come back from the break. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. See everyone in about 5 minutes. 8:15.
Yeah, Matthew, if you're just able to collate some of the questions from before, I've been looking through. So probably if I missed some things, then you can also remind me when we go through them. Thank you.
I've been writing them down as we went as well, but then they started coming thick and fast and I couldn't write them all down quick enough.
Me too, me too. I was listening to Alicia, so I didn't want to interrupt it by starting to answer questions during that time. So that's fine, no worries. Back in a couple of minutes.
Okay.
I'm gonna have a look now at these questions then.
Okay, I wonder if everybody's back with us. Yeah, shall we make a start on the questions?
Yeah.
So I made a note before I lost track. So Sonia wanted to know, do microbiomes need pro and prebiotics?
Okay. From my understanding with the probiotics and prebiotics, and Alicia will kind of add in as well, Sonia, they have become more important now. Now, probiotics are essentially, because they are synthesized in the factory, they have got only a few species of bacteria that scientists could technically isolate from some parts of the intestine they could reach. And the second thing is these bacilli or these bacteria or these microorganisms needed to be those that can actually be cultured and grown at large scale in a factory so that they can be sold in shops and supermarkets. So by definition, probiotics are essentially just a combination of culturable bacteria and microorganisms. Whereas prebiotics essentially refers to a lot of vegetables and other plant-based products that are fermented. And what they do is they have more kinds of bacteria and other microorganisms that once you eat them, those foods go further down and nourish and repopulate the microorganisms that live in deeper parts of the intestine that scientists are still not able to fully get at and make difference. So I would suggest that prebiotics these days are acquiring more importance. Probiotics can be added in as routine fare, but they are not going to be the complete answer.
Okay, did you want to add anything, Alicia?
So yes, there's the difference between probiotics when you have this O as a third letter, so P-R-O, that's pro, that's the life cultures bacteria which are produced in the lab. And you very often see in the bottle that is all like 50 billions of bacteria. They are actually different strains like lactobacillus, very popular like bifidobacteria and all these things. And you can see that the difference between so it's P-R-E, prebiotics, are foods which are, let's say, this food for our pets. I will stay with the pets now. Food for our pets. And this is what they want to eat to actually reproduce. So when you combine these two things together, so what we call by foods, because I saw the other questions, like what we should eat. So these prebiotics are foods which are high in fiber, but specific fiber, what these pets like. So as you know, that some pets are very fussy, and you know that there are so many different cultures of this bacteria. So the diet, which we call it 30 a day, so we call 30 plants a day, maybe that's a lot, but if you even make a soup, you already put like minimum 5 in your pot. So we will count them as onions, garlics, leeks, okay? All this, they have the prebiotics. And for example, something what you can challenge yourself as well today, if you want to start to think that maybe you are drinking too much coffee and you would like to go decaf, but also not taking the chemicals to clear the caffeine in your coffee, you can go for chicory coffee. And this chicory coffee includes inulin, and the inulin is a prebiotics, so it's a food for your culture, food for your bacteria in your gut. So you are looking for specifically inulin. Inulin is the strongest probiotic. We know that most of bacteria like it. And this, if you combine together with the life culture bacteria, it will call symbiotic. Symbiotic, this is together. So some supplements are called symbiotic. So we will have like psyllium husk there, another thing which is prebiotic, which feeds the bacteria, and you will have your life cultures, different bacteria which are associated with different chronic disease as well. It's a huge topic.
Oh, we've
broken
lost
again,
you
is
there, Alicia.
Microbiome and different microorganisms that we need to talk about. And there's another one that I can talk about, but I will just mention, I will talk next week about Akkermansia. And this is another bacteria which is super important from firmicutes and that you can get from bitters. So actually your body, if you have balance between your bacteria in your gut, bacteria will fermentate some greens, because obviously plants, they have their walls, and we can't digest, we have digestive enzymes to break down the nutrients, but as humans, we can't break down all the food. So we need our bacteria, and the main role of the bacteria is to break down the nutrients. So kind of do the digestion for us from the food we eat, and then fermentate these greens, because we don't have two stomachs like a cow. Well, cow is pretty disgusting. Yeah, she will eat, she will throw away, she will back it again. So we don't do it. Hopefully, imagine eating like that from the restaurant. So when you don't have that, we have these microbes. They do the role. So that's why they are good guys there. And they cope, they produce the good, another kind of bacteria, and all ball is rolling. So we provide more bacteria, we look after them, they produce more things. They are so responsible of short-chain fatty acid, acetic fatty acid, butyric acid, propionic acid. They're all anti-inflammatory to our gut. Okay, maybe this is too much. I'm just watching the time. It's a whole topic about microbiome story. Yeah,
thanks, Alicia. That's really great. Matthew, I wonder if you had a question that jumped out at you.
Well, it's I haven't been following them too well, but just to add in on that, along with all the great things I just seen one there, how much is it of the goodness is lost through cooking? So is it better to eat some raw to get more out of raw? Or
Alicia, all yours.
Yes, 100% agree. If we eat raw foods, then we give our body digestive enzymes. So the real nutrients which are in raw foods. And now, obviously, some people may struggle with digestion, and that's the main thing that people avoid to eat raw, basically because they don't chew properly, they are rushing, they don't have enough time to eat. So if some people can't deal with raw food this way, they can also make smoothies. And this is the ideal thing here. If you drink the smoothie, you blend already these greens, you blend your berries, you put a lot of goodness there, and you take time to sip. So another thing is like you make a smoothie and don't drink in 5 minutes, because then your body doesn't realize that actually some food goes in. We need to produce the saliva. So the saliva, we start to digest the carbohydrates here in our mouth. We start with amylase, it's digestive enzyme, which helps to start to break the carbohydrates, so the long chain of carbs. And then when it goes into stomach, we have the pepsin, which start to go digestion of proteins. So when we have a huge, let's say a bottle, when we do the smoothie, we blend everything. If you drink it very, very quickly, you will not be able to produce enough digestive enzymes, and your body will not maybe realize it all. So you need to make sure that you sip it. Or another way is to take a spoon and eat your smoothie. So there are very popular smoothie bowls. Very often people put too much fruits into your smoothie, and that can spike your sugar level. So the way how to make the really good smoothie, you put a lot of good nutrients, which are raw foods, but you need to also make sure that you put fiber. You can soak your oats overnight, and that's easier to digest, that's easier to absorb the nutrients. You have already your fiber, you put healthy fats, because the fats will stabilize the blood sugar level and it's not going to cause the sugar spike. If you put so much fruit, let's say a smoothie which will be banana, orange juice, cherries, and blueberries, too much fruit, that will spike sugar level. It's not going to work. Remember to put greens. So let's go quickly about the smoothie. Okay, we need fiber, so we put oats. The best is to soak oats overnight around 2 tablespoons. You can put banana, or you can put any other fruits. I will recommend always, if we talk about the pain, antioxidants. So blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, anything from berries which are low in sugar. Another thing is greens. You go for kale, you go for spinach, you go a handful of green thing, chop there, and we go for fats. So you can soak sunflower seeds, you can put pumpkin seeds, you can put tahini, which is sesame paste, you can put almond butter, peanut butter. So depends of what the level of your pain, because that's contain arachidonic fatty acids.
I think, Alicia, you need to probably write this down and send it to our patients. I can't keep writing this fast.
and several, I see Tim has asked in the chat as well, if we could a couple of recipes for the smoothies, that would be awesome.
And one thing to remember, all of you listening,
we could do another workshop on smoothies.
Yeah, exactly. And Alicia was talking about soaking your oats, not sowing your wild oats. Just remember.
That's very important difference.
Soaking and sowing.
So we've got an awful lot of questions, and I'm thinking actually it would probably be a good idea if we ask you guys to take a look at them, and we could put the answers along with the video onto the website. That would be cool. But one quick one, actually there's two, hopefully we've got time for. Is honey a bad sugar?
So my take on it is that when you look at how much added sugars you want to do, honey actually has got almost the same, or in fact more sugar or carbohydrate production than actual sugar itself. So while there are healthier forms of honey, like the Manuka honey, which may have a bit of antioxidants in them, which is why they are popular, my general suggestion to patients is that use a little bit, but don't splurge on it. So it's almost like treat it like the sugar. It is a sort of slightly healthier natural form of sugar, but still it's a lot of sugar for the same teaspoon. So use small amounts and don't splurge on it.
Right, thank you. And another one which may take a bit longer, but I know it's one that quite a few people are interested in. Is there anything you can do if you're on opioids to support your gut? Is it just a case of eating well, or is there specific things we can do?
From the pain consultant or from the pain specialist with my sort of lifestyle medicine and pain hat on, if you are going to need opioids as a medication part of your pain relief, and they are not having any side effects and they are doing what they are meant to be doing, i.e. improving your quality of life and your function, then yes, then it's a question of being on the opioid and just eating healthy, trying to add in the prebiotics, the hydration, the probiotics, and making sure you optimize the other aspects of the mindset, as I say. But I think this is always a good time to revisit what the opioids are doing for you. If they are contributing to the constipation, if they are aggravating some of the side effects and they're causing nausea, then I think this is as good as a time as any to actually say, what are the alternatives? Because they are going to be making some of the problems worse as far as your pain and nutrition is concerned. So if there is a way, this is a reason to optimize, then please, I would suggest that this could be a good chance to review the dosage as well as the requirement.
I have just one thing to add here.
Go on, Alicia.
Don't complicate. I think that very often people start to complicate and search a lot of information on Google. So they go Uncle Google, Dr. Google, let's say, can find thousands of things there. But not only for you guys who struggle with pain, for me now, for any other people, to have a right diet, we call it right diet, it's so difficult because life is crazy. And for every single person, things happen every single day. Unpredictable things happen. So if I will focus on my rainbow food, the same as you, the same as Deepak, Luis, every single person, this is the challenge for everyone, which can actually change your life. So start to eat the rainbow and making this one step forward, thinking how my plate look like, how many colors I have, if I have the dark colors, if I have the red, if I put something blue, if I had something green today. Start to look at this because all the nutrients are sitting there in this food on the shelf when you go to the right shelf. Okay, all the nutrients are there for you. So little step forward and this kind of question in your head, do I have enough colors in my plate? You don't need to know the names, chemicals, phytoxidants, antioxidants, the nutrients, not important. Think about the colors and start from there. And then if you see that then you struggle, or you start to feel that you can't digest something, or there is a problem with IBS or irritable bowel syndrome, maybe you have actually infection in your gut, maybe you even not aware that you overgrow some bacteria. You have things to look at it in a cellular level, what's going on in your body, apart of you are diagnosed or you are carrying the name of some disease you are having. But honestly, start with the very easy step. Eat your colors, eat the rainbow.
And just to quickly add to that, there was questions about along the same lines of on the opioids, on antidepressants or antibiotics. I presume the same kind of information would apply to them with your gut health.
Matthew, can you just repeat it again, just to clarify?
The similar question, only instead of opioids, how does the effects of being on antidepressants or antibiotics, does it damage your gut as well?
Antibiotics certainly do. They completely wipe out certain populations of the bacterial, good and bad bacteria from the gut there. So I think there is very good rationale for why in the mainstream hospital doctors these days and microbiologists and other consultants don't want people to be on long-term antibiotics unless and until it's absolutely necessary or there's no other choice, because it completely wipes out big populations of the microbiome and they take a really long time to repopulate. Antidepressants, on the other hand, I think the question is a little bit more trickier to answer because antidepressants mess a little bit with the way the serotonin and dopamine is produced in and around the gut. I told you almost 90% of your normal feel happy chemical is coming from the interaction and the talking between the bacteria and the intestinal wall and your immune system. So when you put an antidepressant in there, in some people, it does increase the amount of serotonin and make things much better. So those are the people in whom it works. But in other times, it might be messing up with the overall production and you really don't get much benefit. So for a lot of people who start getting side effects or who can't tolerate antidepressants or for whom it stopped working, I think the answer is not that they need more drugs. These days, we are now becoming aware that actually sometimes the antidepressants don't work because You just don't have the right kind of microbiome that can work with your bacteria and with your intestine, which is why sometimes antidepressants don't work in everyone.
Yeah.
Yes, antidepressants are very tricky because they will make our body, let's say, very used to serotonin coming. And actually, it's not that easy later for us to produce the serotonin because the pathways can be changed. So we need specific nutrients, which are precursors to make serotonin, which is tryptophan, is amino acids, which we are going to talk next week about it. So guys, come along. And the tryptophan is a precursor for serotonin. And serotonin is precursor for melatonin. So they're around with correlation with your sleeping pattern and digestive system. So if you can increase foods which are higher in tryptophan, then you can basically increase the production of serotonin if everything is all right with your gut, with your microbiome. So there's a lot of things, as Deepak said, is not very straightforward. Everybody is different. And if you know how your gut looks like, then you can adjust more your diet. So this is what we do in the therapy when we try to analyze and we go with the specific matrix to understand what's going on in your body. Because even if you have the same pain as the friend sitting next to you, your body will react differently to different foods, to different compounds, and you will have different pathways to analyze in your body.
I just want to remind everybody before I realize we're running over, just to remind everybody to book for next week if you haven't already. It is the same link, but it helps us to know numbers expected. And also just to remind people that Monday's coffee and chat, if you're available, is going to focus on what we've heard tonight, and we can talk about it and how we feel about it before next week's session. I don't know if you want to wrap up right now. There's been a big question from a lot of people about what you do if you're celiac or you've got irritable bowel and have to avoid certain foods, how we go about getting these healthy things into our diet. I don't know if you want to leave that one for the next session or touch on it.
I think Alicia would be rightly poised, and maybe, as you said, we can take it up on the next session. Probably next time what we can do is we can give a longer time for the Q&A and keep our content sort of short, what we're going to talk about. We'll focus on a couple of things, but we'll leave time for a lot of these questions as well as the Q&A there. But the short answer for a lot of these I think Tim's asked about ulcerative colitis. I saw some questions around other forms of inflammatory arthritis where people give different answers. In my clinical practice, that's why I do have the help of people like Alicia locally. Now, Alicia is sitting in Scotland there, but I do have the help of people like Alicia here. And it does require a bit of personalized plan. And the reality, I think, is that on the NHS or in your GP practice, the dietitians or the nutritionists who are within the NHS side, they are so busy with the diabetic and the kidney and those kind of so much population that they don't have the time or probably the ability to personalize sometimes these diets according to the latest evidence. So you might end up requiring support from somebody external like Alicia, I guess. I think that would be my answer to that. But there are always alternatives and options that are available for those who are on slight restrictions because of their medical problems.
Yeah. Thank you ever so much. I think it's been really interesting session tonight, and I know I've learned a lot already. And judging by the feedback, I think everybody's thoroughly enjoyed it. So we'll wrap it up for tonight and look forward to seeing everybody for part 2, same time next Thursday.
Indeed.
See you all
next
then.
week.
Cheerio,
Have a good evening,
everyone.
guys. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.